I hope you're okay with a quick timeout from basketball. I hope you're all right with that. We did a lot of basketball in hour number one of the show. We're going to do a lot of basketball here on the show today, and I get it. They're the only team playing right now. The Suns are in action. Diamondbacks waiting for spring training. The Cardinals not in the postseason, so they are going to get a lot of our attention. They're not living up to expectations, so I get it. There's a lot of pent-up frustration. There's a lot of anger with this team. They had expectations behind them, and so, yeah, they're going to dominate the airwaves. They're going to dominate the conversation. But I hope you're okay if I just take a mental reset segment so I don't lose my mind talking about the Phoenix Suns for all 2 hours. I hope that's okay with you because there are other things going on. The Cardinals have a pretty big offseason around the corner, and before you know it, it's going to be March. And before you know it, it's going to be the legal tampering window in free agency. It's about 2 months away. We've got the rest of the NFL playoffs. We've got the start of the offseason from the draft perspective with the Senior Bowl and the scouting combine. All that stuff's right around the corner. Before you know it, the Arizona Cardinals are going to be in the middle of free agency. They're going to be in the middle of making moves to improve their team. And we know they've got a lot of cap space to do it. We know they've got some big needs, edge, wide receiver. With that comes big names, splashy names, headlines. And so we got to set the table for you. We got to get you ready for that. And so one of the big bandwagons that we have been driving, I don't know if we were first on this. It feels like we were pretty early on this, feels like it. We've been telling you for weeks, maybe months now. This might date back to October. I can go back and see. We've been pushing the T. Higgins bandwagon a lot. And something further emphasized that push this morning for me. We know that it's award season in the NFL. We know that they're naming who's going to be on the All-Pro teams. We know people are submitting their ballots for MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. It's award season. It's that time of year, right? So I was not surprised when logging on to ESPN this morning. I saw a story for their 2024 All-Rookie team in the NFL this year. And unfortunately, I was not surprised that Marvin Harrison Jr. was not named a first-team all-rookie wide receiver. The three names that were selected to be first-team wide receivers, Brian Thomas Jr. down in Jacksonville, Ladd McConkey in L.A. with the Chargers, and Malik Neighbors with the Giants. And I don't know how you argue with any three of those guys. Brian Thomas was a revelation for that offense. Huge. Christian Kirk, the guy that's getting paid the most money there, Brian Thomas, best receiver on that team, was the only bright spot for a season that was in the toilet before Halloween for the Jags. Ladd McConkey, a day 2 selection as a rookie in a Jim Harbaugh offense, able to thrive, able to be one of the trusted targets. Remember, no Keenan Allen there in L.A., right? He's not there anymore. And Ladd became one of the go-to trusted targets for Justin Herbert. Says a lot. And then Malik Neighbors, again, the Giants season in the toilet before Halloween, one of the bright spots, you made the right selection at number 7. You made the right pick. Or at number 6. You made the right pick with Malik Neighbors. Good job, Joe Shane, landing a franchise number 1 wide receiver. Now you just got to figure out the quarterback situation. So I'm not surprised that those 3 guys were there. But Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft last year was picked ahead of all 3 of those guys. Marvin Harrison Jr. was the first wide receiver off the board. He was the first non-quarterback taken in last year's draft. There's some expectations that come with that. And he wasn't even a top 3 rookie wide receiver. Now, that doesn't mean he's a bust. Please hear me. He's not a bust. He's going to be a number 1 wide receiver in this league. He's going to be a big-time player for this team. He's going to step up in big moments next season. Don't you worry. But he wasn't the player that we all thought he was going to be last season. You draft a wide receiver in the top 5. It's unfortunate at this point, but you're kind of expecting Jamar Chase. You're kind of expecting Jalen Waddle. You're expecting Malik Neighbors. You're expecting hit the ground running and no questions asked. I'm not worried about anything about your game. And yet, felt like watching the Cardinals this past season. The route running felt weird. The play design felt weird. A lot of it felt unpolished. And when you draft a wide receiver in the top 5, when you make him the first wide receiver off the board, that's what you expect. You expect a guy who, by the way, has a Hall of Fame wide receiver as his father. You expect the polish to be there. You don't expect there to be growing pains. You expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to be able to come in there, learn the offense, be up to speed, ready to go, hit the ground running with his quarterback. You take a wide receiver at number 4 overall, that's what you expect. You expect him to run every route in the route tree the way he needs to. You expect the contested catch to be there. You expect the big play home run ability to be there. You don't expect to be wondering midway through the season, are they on the same page? Is the quarterback and the wide receiver on the same page? You don't expect to get to the midway point of the year and be disappointed in the output that you're getting from Marvin Harrison Jr. You didn't expect to end the season and say, yeah, that's going to be probably the 4th or 5th best receiver stats-wise taken in the 2024 NFL draft. That's not what you expect. You didn't take a guy with raw talent who has a huge ceiling, but the floor was low. No, Marvin Harrison Jr. was a unicorn because he was supposed to provide you the immediate high floor, but also the explosive high ceiling. That's what you were getting. At least that's what you thought you were getting. And let's face it, this offense stop and start a lot of the time this season. Felt like they could never get in gear for a long enough stretch of time. And so how much blame do we put on Marvin Harrison Jr. for that? I think everybody knows my stance on Kyler Murray at this point, and I think there's a bunch of blame to go around for the starts and stops to the Cardinals' offense last season. And the guy under center, because he's the quarterback, because he's the leader, because he's getting paid the big bucks, he's going to get a lot of the blame. Marvin Harrison Jr. also should get some of that blame. And that's also where the biggest piece of growth needs to come from for the Arizona Cardinals in 2025. They need Marvin Harrison Jr. to be the number 1 wide receiver. They need him to be better than Brian Thomas Jr. They need him to be better than Ladd McConkey. They need him to be better than Malik Neighbors. They need him to live up to the billing of, I was a top 5 pick. I was the first receiver off the board. I have the highest floor and the highest ceiling. I am a bona fide, true number 1 wide receiver in this league. That's what he needs to be. And he needs to show that, and you started to see it at the end of the season, but you need to see it in 2025. So on offense, quarterback set, under contract. Running back set, under contract. First-round draft pick, invested into your wide receiver room in a big way. That's where the growth needs to come from. Because for all that we knock Kyler Murray for, let's talk about Sam Darnold for a second. Everybody's favorite quarterback that they want to replace Kyler Murray with right now, or at least they did 2 weeks ago. Sam Darnold was in New York. Sam Darnold was in Carolina. Sam Darnold was in San Francisco. Couldn't hack it in any of those places. Couldn't get it done in New York. Got traded to Carolina. They picked up his 5th-year option. He couldn't get it done there. Went to San Francisco, was a backup, just kind of sat there, didn't do a whole lot. Now he goes to Minnesota, and he thrives. Why? Great offensive mind. And you know what? It helps to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. The point I'm making, Kyler Murray's more talented than Sam Darnold at the quarterback position. And so if Marvin Harrison Jr. can be more like Jordan Addison or more like Justin Jefferson and be that true number 1, I think we see a better version of Kyler Murray. I think we see a better version of the Cardinals' offense. And so Kyler Murray has his share of the blame pie. I think we're going to bring that back next season. I think when the season starts, we're going to do the blame pie or the victory pie, depending on the result. I think we'll bring that back next year. File that one away, producer Dylan. Kyler Murray has his fair share of the blame pie. But Marvin Harrison Jr. also plays a role here because of what he is supposed to be, where he was taken, and how different an offense looks when you have a true number 1 wide receiver. Remember how bad Josh Allen looked in Buffalo before they got him Stephon Diggs? Remember that? Where's Josh Allen now? Joe Burrow, great, super talented. I'm taking nothing away from him. Helps to have Jamar Chase. Jalen Hurts, you don't think his development was helped by having A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith? You don't think that helps? Of course it does. The Cardinals didn't have that last year. Marvin Harrison Jr. was solid, but he wasn't great. And he's supposed to be great. And this goes to another point that I've been making. You want to help Marvin Harrison Jr.? You want to help this Cardinals offense? Get Marv a running mate. And get him a running mate that puts defenses in a bind. Give him a running mate that forces defenses to decide who they're going to take away on a given day. And you all know who the running mate is that we think they should go all in for. You've got all that cap space in the world. Bringing on T. Higgins to be the number 2, where he's already shown that he can be in that role. He just wants to be paid. And guess what? You've got Marv on a rookie deal. You've got your quarterback locked in. You don't have to worry about paying your quarterback. You've got all this cap space. It is for moves like this because you know what? It helps your wide receiver room overall, but it also helps Marvin Harrison Jr. And I just laid out the case to you as to why Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be so important for the 2025 Arizona Cardinals. Because that's the secret sauce. That's the missing link for this team. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts in New York. Couldn't get it done in Carolina. He gets to Minnesota, and he has a great offensive mind that draws up plays for him and plays to his strengths, and he has wide receivers that he can get the ball to. The Cardinals and Kyler Murray have half of that equation. Drew Petzing, I think, is a solid offensive mind. And when this offense works the way that it is supposed to, it can look really good. The other half of that is you need that number 1 wide receiver. So invest in your future by adding T. Higgins and double down in your belief and development in Marvin Harrison Jr. Because you get those 2 guys going, and now you've got something.